Vicky goes on and on with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.
Well, I mean, anything to get through this time. So I set up in the, as you could see from that photo, I set up in the cloakroom, and it was very cramped and dark, but it was nice and confined. I mean, I might still end up going in there if this doesn't sound any better. But I'm thinking, I said to Hayley, the thing is, Vicky sounds fine, and she's not kind of closed up.
No.
Because your flat's smaller.
Yeah.
Than what it was out there in the dining room and the kitchen. Yeah. I think that helps. So Hayley said, well, why don't you just sit in the living room and like I've put this duvet up anyway, as like trying to block some sound.
Yeah.
And that might be all we need for now. So
yeah. I think you from here you sound a lot less echoey than you have done.
That's cool then.
So we're here to talk about pubs, maybe, primarily.
Maybe.
Do you remember them? Well, because I might, you know me, I might go off topic too much.
I do remember them. They were fine places to visit, and currently they're all closed, aren't they? So.
Right, I've got several things to say about this.
Well, just in case people don't know, there is a pandemic going on, which has closed. Oh, yeah. Well,
we are recording,
do you know what? It's not even a case of people don't know. If someone comes to this in the year 2022, disclaimer.
When you think this might be over,
maybe.
You loser.
Disclaimer.
You optimist.
We're at the peak of a pandemic currently, as we talk about pubs being closed.
We're on lockdown.
Yeah, which means.
Although James opposes that term.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. But I just don't think it's a lockdown when people are still out and about.
What we want is a lock-in.
Hey.
See?
Now you're talking.
Now I'm comedy gold. Fucking hell.
And where would you find a lock-in, Vicky?
In a fucking pub. That's the one thing. I don't even go to pubs that as often as you would imagine that I go to pubs.
Yeah, I thought you did. But that's probably because primarily whenever I've seen you, it's been in a pub, you know.
Yeah.
It's
the lack of option that I'm not happy with. You know? What? Like I can't just text someone and say, hey, are you free later? Do you fancy meeting for a drink? Do you want to... I mean, more than pubs, like, do you want to come round to my flat? Shall we meet up in a park? But pubs is particularly what I was...
Pubs is a very good
yearning for
social
the other day.
Default, isn't it?
Yeah, and because, you know, you don't even have to drink alcohol in a pub. Let's be frank.
Not nowadays.
I mean, I choose to, but, well, you could always get a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but I can imagine years ago, oh, fucking hell, like, if you went into a pub and asked for a Coca-Cola, like, the music would stop, the old boys would turn.
Here's the difference.
You know,
I'm a girl. It's for women.
But I think even back in the day, if you would have asked for a Coke, they would have said, "No, you need a white wine, love. White wine."
No, you ask for a lemonade and blackcurrant.
Oh, okay.
That's an acceptable non-alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
Lemonade and blackcurrant.
Yeah,
because you're a lady, you don't know. Yeah, both.
What now?
Kelly, Kelly does. Always.
Oh, I guess.
Fucking weirdo.
Normally, I hear soda and black or soda and lime.
It's because you're more middle class.
I'm really not.
You are.
I'm not.
You are. You're a homeowner and you work in an office.
But I'm still working class.
No, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not.
I am.
Mm-mm. Just because you sound it.
I genuinely am working class. There's no way on earth that I'm middle class. Anyway.
Upper working.
Public houses.
You're lower middle. Yes. So, because the weather has been pretty bloody lovely, I've been yearning for a pub beer garden.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you'll forget the situation we're in, and you'll have a sunny day and look out the window and go, and you're about to go, oh, should we go to the pub, go into the garden? And then you're like, oh, fuck, I can't.
I'm so upset. That's one thing.
Yeah.
So another thing that I have to say is that near my flat is lots of pubs. One of them, it's got the most misspelled, grammatically incorrect sign on the doors. It's got apostrophes all over the shop, and it's because of coronas, all pub 's have to close. Sorry. I'm like, anyway, I walk past it every time I go to Tesco, and it makes my blood boil.
So there's a lot of pubs that I've seen on walks or on drives during this time, and you can see through the window there's lights on, like dimly lit, because you forget that people live in, they live in these
pub
places, so they're obviously still doing maintenance and
drinking,
cleaning shit, and maybe
what I want to know is what's going to happen to all the stock, because
a lot of it will go off. Beer
will.
So real ales will go off. They have a certain shelf life. I mean, it's only been a month, so weather.
But it's been extended for another 3 weeks.
It has, but I mean, when you've got Wetherspoons, that the reason why beer is so cheap is because they get it like when it's near its sell-by date.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's why. But they can still sell it. But then
let me tell you something about Wetherspoon.
Oh, God. Apart from the guy's a fucking wanker.
Yeah, and I'm never stepping foot into a Wetherspoons ever again.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of principles, right? I still use Amazon, even though I feel bad about it. But fuck that prick and fuck that company. Yeah. And it's the staff I feel sorry for. And when we boycott them, and I hope that everybody continues to, when we're back, I hope that people do refuse to go to Wetherspoons. It's just, like the whole Brexit thing, right? I was pro-Remain, and he was not. But that's okay. It's a difference of opinion, and just because politically I don't agree with you, it's like you're going to.
There's only two categories in Brexit: there's leave and there's remain. And
right.
You don't have to fucking.
I don't have to agree.
No. Over it.
No, absolutely not. But so that because a colleague of mine was like, "Oh no, he's a pro-Brexiteer. He'd go fuck himself. I'm never going to go to Wetherspoons." And I was like, "Who cares?
He might be a nice person to have a drink with." Turns out he's not. He's a bit of a prick.
He's a fucking prick who pays his staff so poorly, and anyway. So I'm never going to Wetherspoons ever again. Luckily, you and I tend to meet up at the Lucas Arms in King's Cross, which is not a Wetherspoons, no, and it's a lovely pub. Often I do often say to you, "Oh, let's go somewhere else, somewhere cool, somewhere hip and happening."
Yeah, but we always end up.
And then
there.
They're always just too loud and busy because the others are loud. And I want to talk to you. I don't want to listen to.
Yeah, and the food's pretty decent, and
the food's decent. The staff are always really lovely.
Yeah, and the drinks are. I've never had a bad beer in there. So, wine's fine. So,
and they've got a little outdoors bit,
and
they've
also
got the little garden, and also on the pavement.
But also where that's located, you're out of the way of the main kind of street, but at the same time, you're literally a 5-minute walk to the station. So
yes,
it's quite good. So,
exactly.
With pubs, what I love is that where there is a train station, usually there is a pub not too far away. So if you ever got in the situation where you got lost on a train and you got off at a station, you had no idea, you'll be saved by a pub.
Absolutely.
So,
or in King's Cross, a 24-hour McDonald's.
Yep, which is
pretty fucking enough, good.
They locate a lot of them 24-hour McDonald's near pubs nowadays.
Yeah, I am a frequenter of the late night Big Mac.
The Wetherspoons, going back to Wetherspoons, that's in Gravesend, where I live, is right next door to the McDonald's. So that's dangerous after a night.
Is it a 24-hour McDonald's?
It's not, but it's one of them McDonald's that opens until 5 a.m, and then they close for like an hour to get cleaned up, and then.
Oh well, basically it is then.
Yeah.
Because the one nearest to my flat closes
you
at
might
2.
as well be. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
For an hour, Jesus. It is one of them McDonald's that has bouncers on the doors. So,
they all do.
All
the ones that
What world are we living in when you've now got to have bouncers at McDonald's? I mean, every time you walk past the McDonald's, there's a group outside, and not a nice looking.
Well, that's Gravesend for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Dartford.
No, but it's still a shithole.
What a shithole! Yeah, but Dartford.
They both are.
I don't care who I offend, actually, because they're both. Gravesend's much nicer than Dartford. I remember I got the first time I went to Dartford, I got off the train and just was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yep. Yeah, I think most people who live in Dartford, when they open their door every fucking day.
Kelly came up because she met me there, and my friend Kelly had just moved there with her mum, and it was very exciting to, because I'm the sort of person, I don't care where you live, I'll fucking visit you. There's no getting away from me. If I'm your friend,
you will turn up.
Me. I'm like herpes.
If you build it, she will come.
Oh yeah. And so she was like walking across. There's like an overpass bridge thing, and she was walking over that, and I just went, "What the fuck is this?" And she went, "I know." I know. It's just not pleasant.
It's not.
Gravesend at least was prettier.
So I mean, I think what Gravesend has going for it is it's supposed to be a riverside town. Whereas Dartford isn't anything really. At least with Gravesend, it's still holding on to. There's parts of it that hold on to this riverside heritage era. So there is something to. I mean, you could go to the Three Daws, which is a lovely pub on the riverside, which does amazing food. Yep.
Oh, I've been to.
And it's you've got the ferries and you've got the pier, and you can sit in the Three Daws garden. And you can have a lovely on a lovely day. Even do you know what? Even on a winter's day, if you're wrapped up, what a lovely view. That's nice. But yeah, Dartford doesn't really have anything like that. I
think what the difference is, what my memory is anyway. And you could say to me, "Well, Vicky, I only showed you the nicer, prettier bits."
I'm not going to show you the shit parts.
No, but it seems to me that my memory anyway is that Dartford is just concrete, all of it, and Gravesend at least has some greenery in it, even if it's just like some trees.
Yeah,
So, I know certainly where you live, there's a little bit of greenery around, which is lovely.
I mean,
that's one of the best things about living in London is that we have so many more parks per square mile than I think any other country. Any other major city in the world.
Unfortunately, though, they're all hidden away by flats a lot of the time, aren't they? And big grey buildings. Like there's a lot of parks in London, but you have to know about them. So going back to Gravesend and pubs.
Yes.
There is a magazine that goes around called Pub on Every Corner, because Gravesend did used to have a pub on every corner. And it's not a big town.
No.
I mean, when we're talking probably about 8 years ago, I could go on a pub crawl. And I did with friends, like on a Saturday. And we did like one of them golf ones, like the 18-hole kind of things, like 18 pubs. We could do that. And that was after loads of pubs had been closed down in Gravesend. So, fuck mine, there used to be a lot.
There are. That is one of the tragedies of the modern world, that there are a lot fewer pubs, and I know there are very complicated reasons for it. I know that some of them is because of licenses, and some of them because business rates, and like in Kilburn, when it's known for being like a real pub place and lots of live music, and loads of places have closed down.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real shame. Yeah. And I think it's a real shame because, I am on these like Twitter feeds and things, and local email shots that are like, the Beatles played here, Nirvana played here, the Smiths played, all before they were particularly famous.
Yeah.
And if there are no, so it's sort of twofold, isn't it? Because if there are no places for up and coming bands to come from and play, small venues, and start a following from the grassroots, then the music industry's changed. And
it's not it's not Rolling Stones, is it? It's not.
But it's such a shame.
We discovered them in a pub. It doesn't happen now because obviously internet,
everything's on YouTube.
Media. Exactly. So you don't need to go to a pub anymore.
There's not as much money in the music industry anymore, and bands tend not to make money from music. They make it from merch and ticket sales, and it's just really sort of sad, I suppose, is the only what I mean, because live music, particularly some kinds of live music like rock music, you need to hear that live,
and a pub was the perfect place there. It wasn't just for drinking, it was for bands, that's where you would hone your skill, wasn't it? I mean, now you can't do that on YouTube. You can edit on YouTube and you can make yourself sound amazing, and then you get a record deal, and then someone goes, okay, playing.
And it's the same, isn't it, for stand-up comedy? How many great little venues I've seen stand-up comedians in, and then years later you see that they're doing like a nationwide tour, and you think, yeah, man, I saw them when they were a bit shit, but they were obviously naturally funny, otherwise I wouldn't bother following their career. And it's just so nice. That's why I really love the Bill Murray in Angel. It's like a really nice little pub that isn't, you wouldn't really go there for a drink, because the point of it is that you get this stand-up comedy every night. And I also feel a little bit like a sense of ownership, I suppose, because I gave them like a £5 on Kickstarter or something. So it's like, yeah, it's mine. I paid £5 whole. But I did get a badge and I'm on the mailing list and stuff, and it's great. But I've seen some amazing acts there. And I know they're quite a new venue. And I do hope that this doesn't particularly adversely affect them. I know that they're doing some online stuff like everybody is. But it would just be such a shame for all of those sorts of things to fall away because of this coronavirus situation.
I mean,
obviously things are going to be affected economically, of course they are, but I want all of my pubs that I love to stay
open and come back,
please.
Once it's all over. Please. I mean, you can't beat that feeling of, especially when you've organised meeting up with someone, of seeing the pub sign, you're approaching it, opening the door, kind of having a look around in a sea of people, all chatting, drinking. You can't beat that feeling, and then spotting your person that you're there to meet, and a big old wave, and either going straight up to them or going, just grab a drink, and then I mean, it's the little things. Do you know what I mean? It's the little thing, and at the moment, it doesn't have the same. It's lovely, and we're doing all we can, but it's not the same feeling. It doesn't have the same effect as going, do you fancy Zooming in 5 minutes?
I often have people over, like let's say maybe once a week, someone will come around to my flat and I'll have dinner and I'll buy some wine or whatever, and we have a high old time. And I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy having my own space to be able to do that. That's one of the best things about not living with my parents, is that I have the scope to just be like, I'm free on Wednesday, come round to mine and I'll cook for you. So it's not to say that like I want to never do that, but it's something different and sort of delicious about going to a pub. And yes, it is much more expensive. I hate these fucking people. They're like, £5 for a glass of wine, you can get a whole bottle for a £5. Yeah, but it's not the fucking same, is it? It's just not the same. I can make a burger at home, but it's not the same as going to Byron or McDonald's even.
It's the atmosphere.
I'm a much better cook for steak, right? And my brother is a much better cook for steak, particularly. So I never order steak when I go out. That doesn't mean I never want to go to a restaurant again.
No, exactly.
Sometimes I just don't want to fucking cook,
It's a change, it's different. I think that's what people are missing, isn't it? It's like,
and that's
you can have a drink at home, and at the moment a lot of the pubs down my way are doing takeout and deliveries, because I mean it's not the big chains. It's the micro pubs, you know, who do the real ale and all the craft beer. You know, they're doing it, like the Compass Alehouse. Shout out. They're doing takeouts and deliveries. Because again, what you were saying about stocks, you know, they don't want their stock to perish. 2, they've still got a business to run. 3, a lot of them pubs know what it's about, going back to what it used to be when pubs weren't chains, and it was all about community, and it was all about knowing the same people, and just
supporting your neighbours,
family kind of unity. And in these hard times, they're doing the best that they can.
Did you happen to watch? It was on BBC Two, I assume, but I watched it on iPlayer, and it was like the shop corner through the corner shop through the times. You know, did you ever watch that Go Back in Time for Tea? And they had like the 1910s, like 1911, and like what you would eat every day and how you would live your life.
I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
So they did that, and then they did one for the corner shop, and it was so interesting because I really love social history.
So it's the evolution of the corner shop over.
Yes, right. Yeah. And I know you're thinking, well, Vicky, that's not a pub, but
no, but there's a point.
There was, I promise. But there were a lot of parallels between the corner shop and the pub, and I suppose one of the parallels could be because I'm getting muddled, because in the 1910s, I think it was, you could buy pints from the corner shop, but they weren't an off license, so it's kind of a pub.
But not sealed, like a pint ready to go.
Yeah. Well, so you would just they would sit.
They had a pump. So
the men,
Amazing.
And they would sit and drink whilst, because of course it wasn't self-service. So often, you know, the bloke would be on his way home by the evening paper.
Yeah.
And then whilst you sit and wait for the shopkeeper to get your order ready, he'd be like, "Oh, I'll have a pint of bitter." And so they'd sip and have a pint of bitter and catch up with your mates. But also, more than that, the corner shop is a very sort of feminine space, and then the pub is a sort of very masculine space. So, you know, but regardless of that, it's a place where you can go that isn't your own front room, and you can socialise and entertain in a very, I don't know, like considered way. Anyway, that's all very.
I mean, it's escapism. That's what it is. You know, again, popping to the pub for a drink is a change, and you know,
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's pubs that you could go to which are literally 2 minutes walk, and
yet
sometimes
I don't.
Well, you can't at the moment. So.
No, but you know, near me, I've got a couple of really great pubs and a couple of really dodgy pubs. So there's one, I won't name it, but there's one. I lived around the corner from where I currently live with a flatmate, and she and I went to this pub it was like seconds from our flat on the Kilburn High Road, and we were in there. She's not from London, so this guy comes in and he's opened his like coat up and showed somebody his wares, and I was like, oh fucking hell. And I was like, Kate, can you just like don't engage, don't look at this person? And the guy approaches us and I went, no, I don't want it, thanks. And he's walked off, you know, it's not a problem. And she was like, what's he selling? I was like, he's selling meat. He's stolen some meat from Aldi or Sainsbury's or M&S, and he's gonna sell some meat. She's like, meat?
Did you then get back into your time machine and came back to 2010?
Listen.
Because I haven't heard of someone trying to sell their wares in a pub for years. Like,
you don't live in Kilburn.
I was going to say, when I was a kid, it'd be a case of, you know, you go to the pub with your dad and he'd be chatting with his mates and you'd have a Diet Coke or whatever. And then someone would come in, you know, do you want to buy some DVDs? And fucking hell, I haven't heard of that in years. Jesus.
Well, it happens when the lockdown is up. You need to come. I'll take you to that pub.
Well,
you know what cracks me up?
While I'm at it as well.
Yeah. What cracks me up about that pub is, from the outside, it seems like a really cool pub, and it's like got special gins and karaoke nights and various other, like the windows look great and inviting.
Yeah.
And then and the decor looks pretty good. You walk in and you're like, fuck, I'm in the wrong pub.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's such a funny place. But one of my favorite pubs is a cheaper pub too. So I'm going to frequent there instead of Wetherspoons, and that's the Old Bell. And that's just, it's like a proper local pub, but you don't walk in and feel, oh fuck, I've walked into a local pub. Do you know what I mean? You must get it.
I know. Yeah.
It's so funny, isn't it?
It is like a Western when the stranger walks in and everyone fucking stops and they're like, who the hell is this? But if you engage with the locals, by the end of it,
you're one of the locals.
Yeah, they're like, come back.
You know what it makes me think of? And you're going to love this because it's got one of our fave people in it. The beginning of American Werewolf in London. Is that what it is? And Rik Mayall's. Yes.
Yeah, and everything goes silent. Yeah. What's the name of that pub? Oh, fuck. That's going to kill me. You talk and I'll Google. Go on.
Okay. So one of the funniest things, I think, personally, is I'm like a real pub person, and you were just saying then that, go to the pub with your dad. My parents don't go to pubs. My family are not pub family.
But you've got a lot of brothers, are they not?
I do have, no, they don't drink. I'm the drinker. Yeah. One of them does drink a little bit. Some of them do drink a little bit, but not anything like me. And I think that's mostly because two of them, they have to drive for their jobs, and they've had to drive in all of their working life.
Sure.
And also they just would never get the
obviously get the chance, do they? So.
Well, because they're not the sort of people, and I think this is commendable, to even have a pint. You're allowed to have a certain amount of alcohol before you can still drive. And one of my brothers was just like, it's not worth it. What's the point? You get pulled over and you get breathalyzed. Yeah. And even if it's like, such a small amount, he was like, you can't be sure that you've only had the correct amount. And also, if it was me, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'll have another half, it won't matter. And that will be the thing that tips me over the edge. And he was just, and most of my friends who drive are like, nah, if I'm driving, I'm not drinking at all.
Yeah.
Like, forget you're allowed to have one glass of wine or something.
Yeah.
So I think, good, thanks. And that means that I don't have to learn how to drive, and I can drink all I like.
You can always be, you never have to be the designated driver. No. You can always be the drinker. So, well, I can't. So,
someone needs to be entertaining.
You're all sitting around the table and everyone's trying to work out who's driving. Already you're on the fucking fifth glass of wine. It ain't me.
Do you know what, James? That is true.
I know.
That has happened. I went out.
Which means...
Go on, what's your fun fact?
No, I'm just going to have to make sure that I book a cab when you come and visit me. I ain't fucking driving. So, and now I'm reading it. It's all coming back to me. The slaughtered lamb.
I knew it was the lamb. I was going to say the flagon lamb.
Slaughtered lamb.
Yeah. Fucking brilliant. And the thing is I think that is the most accurate representation of anything in cinema.
Yeah, because it does happen.
It does happen. My dad was telling me he used to pick up cars. He was a breakdown driver, not a breakdown dancer. People always think I'm going to say that. I'm like, no.
Yeah. But it isn't even a breakdown, is it? It's break dancer.
Exactly. So I'm saying breakdown.
Fucking people are stupid.
Anyway, tell me about it. Anyways, that's what he was. And he once was picking up a car in North Wales, and the guy whose car it needed to be picked up was in this pub, and he'd said to my dad, I'm going to be in this pub at this time and I'll give you the keys. So this is before like mobile phones.
Yeah.
So my dad walks into this pub, and just as he was walking in, he could hear everybody speaking perfectly good English. He walks in, they stop, they turn around, they look at my dad, they all start speaking Welsh. And my dad was like, I'm here for,
Fucking hell. Does your dad, because you always do an impression of your mum and she's very Spanish.
My dad's English.
Yeah, I know, but where about in England is he from?
So My dad is from Northamptonshire, but if you asked him, he would say that he's from Paddington, which is...
So he doesn't have an accent.
Well, I suppose we would call it a neutral accent. But then also he does what I do, what we all do, where you code switch, because, you know, he worked in an environment with lots of men, and some of whom are unpleasant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's like, my dad doesn't really swear very much, but in a garage he wouldn't have to, but he would swear much more. And I remember one of my sisters saying, "Oh, I never heard you swear before, Dad." That's not how she sounds, but that's how I'm making her sound. And I was like, well, of course he was swearing, because he was talking to like a mechanic and he's being one of the lads, you know, and you've got to be a little bit in with that gang. Do you know what I mean? It's not any sort of disrespect to anybody else. It's just you've got to sort of fall in with those people.
You saying that, I've got this feeling of pubs, and one of the magic things about pubs and the atmosphere, and whether it's to do with the atmosphere, it's definitely to do with the alcohol. It's one of them places where everyone can just be themselves and be a little bit loose, a little bit free. It's bit easier to be, it's easier to be yourself.
I mean, that's true, and that's beautiful, and I agree. But one of my problems as a human being is that I'm not uptight, but I do sort of keep a lot inside. And I'm very... Somebody said, "Oh, you're really self-aware, that's your problem." And I'm like, yeah, I'm self-aware to some sort of unhealthy degree, where I'm constantly thinking about what I am, who I am, what I'm saying, who I'm saying it to, how I'm saying it, and how I'm feeling and how that makes me feel. And anyway, it's very tiring to be me. And I remember one of the first times that I was really drunk in front of Susan, who is a beautiful soul, who I'm so glad is my friend.
And you stayed your friend.
And has stayed my friend despite being so pissed. I was so drunk this one time.
Was this in a pub?
The next day, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
No.
I had been at a pub before drinking, and then I was going to a friend of mine was in a band, and they were doing some sort of rehearsal, and they invited me and Susan and various other people to like come and have a sort of little jam party. And I got so pissed, and I didn't know Susan very well then. Like, it was about a year into our friendship.
Oh, okay.
So there was an element, because also she's quite a lot younger than me. There was an element of like, I don't know, sort of trying to be a proper person.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the next day I spoke.
You're still in the honeymoon phase of friendship.
Yes, yeah. Where I am a really great person.
Yeah.
I'm a
not
great
even the
gal.
honeymoon phase. It's more like the dating phase of friendship, isn't it? Because honeymoon, by that point you're married and you fucking know exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's the dating phase of a friendship when you're if I let too loose, then
Yeah.
But then ironically, we make a lot of people have made friends in pubs because you're being free.
Oh no. So this was my point, right? So this was my point. So I said to her the next day, "Oh my God, Susan, I'm so drunk. I'm so sorry. It was so embarrassing. Oh God, you must think I'm so terrible." And she was like, "Vicky, you were exactly the same as you normally are, but turned up." Well, she was like, you
turned up to 11.
It was basically, she was just like, you were you without any of your fucking walls and your insecurities. You were just
because of the alcohol.
Like, yeah. Basically, drunk Vicky is pure Vicky.
Everyone, when they've had alcohol, is more relaxed, aren't they? And
yeah, but some people, they become more relaxed, and they become more aggressive or more. Yeah.
That's you as a person, surely.
Mm-hmm. Quite.
If you can sit in a pub and have a bottle of wine to yourself, have a chat with someone, have a good evening, and be jovial when you leave, you're still drunk, you're merry, whatever, then I think that reflects on you as a person anyway. If you go to a pub and by the end of the night you're starting fights, then more than likely you're a dickhead anyway.
Yes, and I suppose all I mean to say is that it's heartening to know that the real me is lovely, really funny, charming, modest.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just great.
But you
what
are.
Can I tell you?
You're a lovely person. You know?
Yeah, well, but I don't think that.
Going back to this podcast.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of one of the ideas behind it. But when you wrote it down and sent it to me, like the description of what the podcast was, and it's a podcast for chatting about people and for people that like being in pubs, that kind of thing. I was like, fuck yeah, that's what it is. And you know, for people that are just listening, they might not realise that the idea is that we sit here and we don't get drunk per se, but it is.
Speak for yourself.
Well, but it is that concept of, you know, we both open a bottle of wine or we have a drink and we chat, we converse, and as the conversation goes, it becomes looser, fluider.
We don't need to enjoy each other's company with booze. That is not the point. No. But because you know, I don't want to encourage the idea that it's only for drinkers or it's only for, you know, like we're sort of making it an alcoholic
alcoholic podcast.
Bitch sesh or something.
For the alcoholics.
Yeah. And I know that, you know, some people have problems with alcohol and some people don't drink alcohol for whatever reason, you know, whether it's religious or whatever, or psychological. But
yeah.
But it's that sort of, it's in that sort of vein of having a nice time and chatting with a friend and trying. I suppose the point is, for those who don't know me, I know a little tiny bit about a lot of different things, and I unfortunately bore my friends with my rants and my opinions, and my friends say to me, yeah, but you know, you explain things in a really interesting way.
Yeah, you do. It's a very Vicky way. So, it's a very Vicky way. And the thing is, with me, I do think and maybe I'm doing myself a disservice, but I do think that I'm not as educated as I wish I was. I wish I would have paid attention more at school. But at the same time, it's now that I've got that that enthusiasm and that what's the word? See,
that drive.
That drive to be more educated.
Yes.
And what I like about talking with you when we meet up is that you do this thing in a Vicky way that I do feel like I've learned a bit, and without being bombarded with information. I mean, I'm a little bit of an idiot.
No, I disagree. You know, I don't like stupid people.
But there's things that I know.
No, because let me tell you something.
A huge knowledge of, and there's things that I haven't. I would love to be an all-rounder. I'd love to have a knowledge of everything. Unfortunately, I do not. Like when it comes to things like politics,
you do not.
I do not. Well, I find it really hard to engage in interest. However, having said that, as I've got older,
of course,
there are things that interest me a lot more than they used to.
But here's the thing: you are a curious person, and I don't mean that you're peculiar. You know what I mean? Oh, you're so curious. But interested people are interesting. There are many people that I speak to, and I'll say something like, "Oh, did you know that?" And I mean, not in that sort of train spotting stereotype bore way of like, "Did you know that?" Blah 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 blah. You know, like that's very dull. And
yeah, sure.
I don't mean it like that, but sometimes I'll say something to somebody, and just because I like to tell people things, not because I know them, but because I just read this thing and it was really interesting, and don't you think that's really interesting?
Yeah.
And there are some people who I think are stupid because they go, I don't want to know. Basically, their attitude is, oh, it's so boring. And it's like, no, it's not boring. You might find that topic boring, right? And that is fine. But there is something of interest, in my opinion, in everything. Everything. You could show me an article about the most dull hobby, say. I will look
There's
for
something out of that, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why does somebody find it interesting? Yes.
Yeah, it's a seed.
So my opinion is that if somebody appreciates that seed, then they're not stupid. They might not know anything. Listen, how do you know anything? How does anyone know anything? You're born, you know nothing, right?
Yeah. We're always learning. We're always learning.
So it really fucks me off when people are like, I just interested, or like, how do you know that? That's my biggest thing is people say to me, how do you know so much? And I'm like, I read a book, I read a thing, I looked at a thing, I watched a, and I'm not the sort of person who's like, I only watch BBC4 documentaries about jazz musicians in the 18th century. Like, fuck off. I don't care. And it's really great that you like that one niche thing, but there are so many things in the universe.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I know a little tiny bit, and I've always been
open to learning as well. So
yes. And this is coming from somebody who didn't really go to school. I was 25 when I went to university, which is, you know, a lot older. I was a mature student. Anyway, but because, you know, had I gone to university when I was 18 or 19, I would have fucked it up royally. And I mean, I didn't get a first, I got a 2-1. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a reasonable grade. You know,
more than I got.
Well, but you know, at some point I was at a job where everybody had a degree.
Yeah.
I was like, these people are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And I now work with PhD students.
Well,
they know a lot about one thing. They're so fucking clever about one thing, but they have no life skills.
No.
They have no life experience, and like they're smart.
But then I think there's
clever, but
yeah, but
whoa.
But those conversations, those ones you have where you're chatting and just shooting the breeze, I guess, and you're talking about these subjects. Again, you're talking about things that could be really dull and mundane articles, as you've said, but you'll find something. There isn't. I mean, I'm saying this with a lot of irony, considering where we are at the moment. I'm in my living room, you're in yours. We're not together. But where, other than a pub, do you have them conversations?
No, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. You
don't have them conversations at work. And if you do with your work colleagues, it's after work at the pub.
Yes. You know, I mean, yes, ordinarily, except, do you know what I think the problem is? Personally, I'm such a pub person that I my essence is a pub. So I end up I'm just that kind of person. And I think that that's funny because, as I said, my parents don't go to pubs. I'm not from a pub family. Yeah. We never went. I went to a pub with my mum once, and that was in Luton Airport. And I said to my mum, yeah.
So was it a mock pub? Was it a mock
pub? But it was nice anyway. She was waiting to get
that pub atmosphere to a big grey building.
It was quite a nice pub, actually. Yeah, it looked like a legit pub.
Do you know what? They're really lovely pubs when there's a screen up there telling you when your flight is going to fucking...
Yeah, but I wasn't flying anywhere, so I was just waiting with her whilst her flight was coming in. She was going to go to Spain to visit family.
Right.
And so I said to my mum, oh, well, we'll just go to this pub, right? Mm. And my mum was like, a pub at this time? And I was like, Mum, it's like 4 p.m, like we're fine, and I'm off work and you're going on holiday, for crying
So for your mum, a pub is an evening thing? For
my mum, a pub is a thing for people who are loose. They're for, she has a real thing about pubs, let me tell you. I don't go to the pub and I don't hang out with these men. And I'm like, I am not hanging out with these men in pubs. I'm not hanging out with men ever.
Well, aside from me.
Apart from James, my married mate, like.
So, what about your dad? Does your dad frequent pubs? Or
No, not really.
Has he ever?
He told me once, in the 60s, he would go to the pub. He was in the army. My dad was a horse guard. So know the ones with the red plumes.
Yeah.
Ponytails, as I like to call them. So sometimes you would go to the pub, after your shift or whatever it's called. Yeah. And he would have half a milk stout, and I was like, "What the fuck is a milk stout?
Lovely.
And isn't a half a lady's drink?"
Creamy stout. No.
He was like, "No, half a milk stout."
Yeah, but a stout is a man's drink. So even if you're having
get a bloody life. Drink a whiskey.
Oh.
But anyway, so my mum and I, we were in this pub in Luton Airport, and I said to my mum, "What do you want to drink?" She said that she would have a gin and tonic, right? My mum loves tonic water. I think it tastes like, when you put your tongue on a 9-volt battery.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said that very quickly. Yes.
Well, but
yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
That's what tonic water tastes like to me.
The joy of tonic water is that
it tastes like a 9-volt battery.
Well, the joy of tonic water is it's recharging you as you drink it. No, the joy of tonic water is it complements the gin, the flavour of a gin. And I'm just talking a standard gin. I'm not talking about kind of flavoured gins. I'm talking about your standard gin. It complements that flavour, so much that if you were to have tonic water on its own, there's not that much fucking difference. So if you're trying to steer away from the alcohol, just have a glass of tonic.
Okay, here's the problem. I hate the taste of gin.
Well, then don't worry about it, because you ain't going.
No, I don't. No. So anyway, So listen. So I got my mum a gin and tonic, and I got myself a Jack Daniels and Diet Coke.
Of course.
And my mum said, "What are you drinking?" I said, "A Jack Daniels and Diet Coke." And she said, "That's a whiskey." I said, "Yes." And she went, "You are an alcoholic." I said, "What the fuck difference is it? It's a spirit and a mixer. You've got a spirit and a mixer." Yeah. Oh, but a gin is different. Yeah. It's not different. It's the same bloody thing. I said, "You taste it." She doesn't like Diet Coke. She doesn't like Coca-Cola. It tastes like a medicine. I'm like, "You're drinking a 9-volt battery, love." And two things, right? Whilst we're on this fucking topic, my mum likes brandy and she likes anise, which is like Pernod or Uno, like a pastis.
Has that got anything to do with star anise? Like the
It's like an aniseed.
Yeah.
It's clear.
So it's that kind of similar taste.
In France, it's called a pastis, and in the Greek equivalent is a
Cornish pastis.
No, it's a ouzo.
Yeah,
you'll have had it in your life,
probably. Yeah,
and it turns out, I didn't know this. You're supposed to have a shot of it in ice cold water. Oh. Because I once bought her a bottle and it came with a cuchara, which is a spoon. Cuchara gratis. And I'm like, why is it come with
an actual spoon? Well, was it a silver spoon, a wooden spoon?
It was a lovely long-handled wood silver spoon.
Like when you get a latte. Like nowadays when you get a latte.
Like when you get a latte. But it was kind of the measurement of the bowl of the spoon was kind of between a teaspoon and a regular spoon. It was somewhere in the middle.
Not a serving spoon.
I think it was probably that it held 25 mils, but I don't know.
Okay, we can't be sure of that.
Anyway, no, I don't know. I just bought her a bottle from the Spanish shop on Portobello Road, and it came with a free spoon. So I said, "Why does it come with a free spoon?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Mira, una cuchara gratis. What is this?" She was like, "I don't know, maybe to mix it." Yeah, but why are you mixing it? Because my mum
Did she then open a drawer up of so many of these spoons that she's kept over the years?
That would make sense, but this is what happened. My mum drinks a shot of this out of often an egg cup. I'm painting my mum in a very peculiar light, but she's a very peculiar woman. I love her dearly, but she's nuts, right? So she'll just have an egg cup shot of anise. I had to Google what the fuck, like, what is this drink? What's with the fucking spoon? It turns out you have it, a shot of it in a tall glass of ice cold water. You sip it like a cocktail, I suppose.
So the spoon's
like
to
it's
stir.
A gin and tonic. The spoon is to stir. And my mum was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So she doesn't have her water?
No, she just has a pure shot of this.
See, you're a lot more like your mum than you think.
What, because I have pure shots of whiskey? How dare you?
Which makes me laugh, because your mum's then going,
mate,
pubs and stuff.
No, listen.
On the other hand, she's like, fuck the water. Let's just have a shot. Come on, guys.
No, I know.
What about a Sunday lunch at a pub?
They've never done that.
I mean, when you find a pub,
it's lovely, isn't it?
That does a good Sunday lunch. That's one of the best things in the world.
Although here's the thing, a few years ago, I do the Christmas dinner cooking.
Yes,
and I still do.
Yeah,
because my dad used to do it.
You didn't do a Christmas pub dinner, did you?
Well, I booked a very nice pub Christmas dinner thing, right? Yeah. Except I gave everybody the menu, because then I was going to liaise with the pub about what we all wanted for starters and etc., right?
Of course, standard practice.
Of course, but the menu said jus instead of gravy. And my dad was like, oh, it's so fucking pretentious. Let's not do it. And I
agree with you, Dad. Just call it gravy.
Yeah, but come on. So anyway, because of all of this sort of bullshit attitude, one of my brothers and I decided that we'll go to the Toby Carvery. What a fucking shit show. How terrible. You and I privately...
You would have been better off with a Jew.
Yeah, right? An actual Jewish person. That's what we would have been better off with on Christmas. Yeah. Do you and I were recently discussing privately about ITV?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what Tony cut.
It's Toby Carvery is.
We'll edit this.
Will we? I've got the power.
That's true.
Toby Carvery is one of them places for that caters for
cunts.
I was going to say northern people or people of simple taste.
People who were raucous. They were very rude. It was It was raucous. I did. I didn't.
I mean, everyone gets excited at a carvery, but
and then
a bit of decorum would be nice.
All the way home, I kept getting told by various people in the car,
we should have
gone to that pub.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And the thing is, that pub was going to cost me, and I had paid the deposit. One of my brothers was going to help me out, and it was, it was all. I mean, he did it. He did pay for the thing anyway. It was going to cost me like 75 quid a head, and it was like two of my brothers, my mum, my dad, and me. So that's like a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to cook. I couldn't be bothered. I had a really shitty year at work, and I was just like,
fuck it.
Because that was, I think that was when I went to Waterstones, and it was like, fuck it. Yeah. I'm also in charge of Christmas dinner.
But also, what we were saying earlier on about it being a bit of escapism, a change of scenery. It's not a bad thing, trying to get everyone together and go to a different environment, a different setting.
And then the next day, my mum said to me, "Can you cook turkey for me? Because I am really disappointed that I haven't had like a proper turkey." So I still had to cook Christmas dinner after all of that. So it cost me like £500. And I still cooked Christmas fucking dinner.
If only they'd gone for the Jew.
But
then, do you know what? I think nowadays that is one of the I think people that run pubs, that's an error, because people are looking for a pub atmosphere, and when you start trying to cater for a certain clientele and being a bit pretentious, I mean, if you go to a pub, you're fundamentally ordering a pint of lager and you want some fucking gravy. You don't want
sort of agree.
You want gravy.
And also because Christmas in this country is very sort of no matter how posh you may be, it is sort of universal that it's Quality Street and watching
it's very
and watching Top of the Pops Christmas, and there are lots of I agree with you.
There's lots of elements of Christmas actually which you can connect
they're universal,
up with,
aren't they?
and you can connect them up with the elements of a pub to a certain extent. Is it because it's a British thing? It's very, because I mean, I'll be honest, Christmas is quite universal around the world. However, I can't imagine a lot of Americans sitting there eating Quality Streets and watching Morecambe and Wise.
They don't have Christmas crackers.
Fucking hell.
I've never felt more sorry for a nation. No, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Although saying that, there is a lot of,
No, listen. Well, Christmas crackers are disappointing.
And then you get a poxy little toy.
I know. Look, they're disappointing. All right? I'm willing to admit that. Of course I am. I'm not an idiot. But they're my favourite part of Christmas.
Yeah.
I fucking love a Christmas cracker.
Really?
I love them. I don't know why.
So
because they're so disappointing. I don't know why I love them. Maybe I just like disappointment.
Have you ever been to a pub on Christmas Day?
I want to say no, but maybe I have.
It's quite nice. We went, so the Christmas just gone, we didn't, because ironically we were too drunk to go. And it was, they opened
the best reason
again,
ever.
Going back to the Compass, it's a little micro pub. They opened for like 2-3 hours, and they opened at something like 12 o'clock till 3, and that's it on a Christmas day.
Yeah.
And previously we'd been every Christmas while the turkey or the meat is cooking, we'd pop down for a couple. And
does this mean you're not always eating turkey?
Yeah, we eat. Yeah.
Oh, you fucking sicken me.
No.
It's turkey or nothing.
Do you know what? So the year before last we had beef.
No, you're wrong. No, you're a wrong woman. I don't like you. This is wrong.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
It's the end of it. It's the end of our friendship.
But this year, we were too drunk by 12 o'clock to go.
Wow, I mean, that's fucking impressive.
Yeah, well, we started early on the champagne and the orange juice.
Fucking did.
It was only me and Hayley. So, but previously, we've gone to the Compass for Christmas drinks, and it's lovely. And it's almost like a heightened version of what it's normally like to go to a traditional local pub. Like, everyone's friendly, everyone's like in high spirits and chatting, but it's just heightened that little bit more because it's Christmas and they've got like Christmas jumpers on.
Yeah,
having a quick few drinks before
dinner.
I'd
love to go. I'd love to go.
Pubs at Christmas, I mean, it's a good time to go to a pub at Christmas time. I mean, depending on what pub you go to, if you're going to a busy kind of high chain one or like a pretentious one, sometimes they suddenly get busy for no reason whatsoever. I wonder what the Lucas Arms is like around Christmas. We haven't done that. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
when we're let out into the world.
Yeah, but also it'd be awkward, wouldn't it? Although we could do a pre-Christmas.
It'd be awkward.
I'm just thinking on Christmas Day would be awkward.
Oh, I'm not coming out on Christmas Day.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Pre-Christmas.
Yeah, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we do?
Do you know what?
If we're allowed out.
What we could do? Yeah, go on.
We'll have. You have like your work's Christmas do.
Yeah. We'll have our work's Christmas do. Because we're mates, but this is work, isn't it? Work, really, let's be honest. So
this is hard.
We can go through analytics.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you know what? And we could tie that in because it's only up the road from the Lucas Arms. We could go, and because it's Christmas, it's perfect time to go. We'll go to the Dickens Museum. Now, do you know what?
What?
Dickens and Churchill. Dickens and Churchill are two people, like historically, that I would have a good conversation with in a pub.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine Churchill would be a bit of a lad, you know, but lad, a bit of a posh lad. Like
he's what Boris Johnson wants to be,
but will never be.
No, because I mean, look, Churchill's very problematic lately.
Yeah.
And
but it's like what we've discussed this before. Churchill was the prime minister you needed during the war.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And also very, I just think very astute.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but you know, I mean, what do I know? But at that time, I don't feel I would have been as safe if Neville Chamberlain was prime minister.
Oh, of course not, because he was a fucking idiot.
There was a reason. He
came off that fucking train waving his bit of paper going, there'll be peace in our times. When literally everybody else was like, no, Neville, mate, there won't, because this
he did a good speech to announce it, let's be honest. Like the speech is
wasn't that great.
You know, this country is at war with Germany. That's good. But then, leading on from that, you need someone, because Churchill, you can imagine he's on the front line, and then he would have gone down the pub afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Chat about it. Go, fucking hell, the day I've had, lads, the day I've had. Like, he would have had a few drinks. And as you said, you get more fluids in a pub, chilled out. So, that's it. That's my three. So, Charles Dickens, historic, okay, we're saying now. I'm sitting in a pub.
Also, Dickens, though, what a prick. Come on.
Yeah, but a great writer and educated and someone like yourself that I could have an interesting conversation with. I want to sit in a pub having a conversation with, in a group. I mean, feel free to join me. I want to be in a pub with Charles Dickens, Winston Churchill, and Rik Mayall.
Oh,
can you imagine that conversation? Oh, it'd be amazing.
I'll be there for Rick's though. I fucking loved him. Oh, you know how I feel about Rik.
Yeah.
I met him 3 times.
I know. And I envy you for that.
Yeah.
That's one of my things to do actually. While we're in lockdown, I'm gonna open a beer and I'm gonna sit and go on YouTube on the TV and I'm gonna watch, because I've never watched it. I've watched clips. I've never watched it fully. I'm gonna watch him doing George's Marvelous Medicine.
You know what you think to watch? My mum, my mum and my dad watched Kevin Turvey Investigate.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
There's the movie on YouTube. We watched that.
I'll watch that as well.
Fucking great. And my mum, you know, it's funny because my mum really likes silly animation like me, and I like satire like my dad. You know, like, so we have this weird, but there's this weird Venn diagram of like basically Rik Mayall and the comic strip and that kind of comedy that all 3 of us are like, yes, this shit is amazing. Because there is something for everybody in it. I think there are lots of like political jokes that if you don't get, it's fine, and then there are lots of like slapstick jokes that I don't really like slapstick, but I really love Rik Mayall and Bottom and Young, you know, and that's very slapstick, but that's not the bit that I like. But it's so, I think, appealing to a wide audience that it's fine if you don't like those things, because there will be something for you in a minute. There'll be something a bit more cerebral, something a bit more thought-provoking. Just wait a minute. And it's just, I mean, I love Rik Mayall. You know how much I love him, and I know that you and I are the only 2 that I can really. You're my only friend that I can really sort of mourn with.
It still annoys me. It still upsets me that he's not around. What are you drinking that's green?
The glass is green.
Fucking hell, that scared the shit out of me then. Is that white wine?
Yes.
Okay.
Pinot Gris,
which you always pick when we go to a pub.
Yeah.
And now I know that you know that I drink wine.
Yes.
Maybe next time we meet in a pub, we might get a couple of bottles to share.
I like a Chardonnay.
Yes, I love a Chardonnay.
All right, let's have a Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking now. I'm drinking a Chardonnay.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's a fair trade Chardonnay from Argentina. I don't know why I put extra I in there. Argentina. This is what happens when you've had a drink. And this is what happens to, this is what happens to people. Well, this is what happens to us when we leave each other for an evening after we've been sitting in the Lucas Arms. So, the Lucas Arms has got a lot of mentions today. We should call this Vicky Goes On and On about the
Lucas Arms. Yeah. Okay, we've also had a shout out to the Compass. I briefly mentioned the Bill Murray and the Old Bell.
Yeah.
Also, the Canonbury is the best pub I've ever been to in my life.
Where's the Canonbury?
We've been there. It's not far from Highbury and Islington Station.
Remind me, why did we go there?
Canonbury, because I love that pub.
What does it look like inside?
We weren't inside. We were in the garden. It's a massive beer garden.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes.
And I had a pint of beer, and it had white stripes on the glass.
Was
like it was like
thing?
Yeah, it was a stout. Okay. I had a stout. I know exactly. Okay. Yeah. It was a lovely pub.
Pub, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a lovely. And the garden was lovely.
The garden is lovely. The inside is nice.
Pub garden.
The inside is nice, but even in the dead of winter, I want to be in that garden.
I do feel sorry for pubs that don't have a pub garden. I know they do well, and they sell, especially like winter time. They haven't got a care in the world, but when it comes to summer,
no, I know there's a pub near where I work that I don't know, man. It keeps changing management. I heard from a woman on the bus that it was a brothel, and that's why it closed. And now it's got a new name, and it's all the whole thing. Anyway, it's right by the canal, but it's like if in order to go to the canal, you'd have to go down some steps, and then there.
Yeah.
So it's not it's not on the canal in any sort of interesting way.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame that you can't. Maybe if they could, I don't know, like own some tables at the canal or something. I don't know if that's a thing that can happen. But it's just such a shame because there is no outside space, but you're right next to Mile End Park and the canal, Regent's Canal.
Okay. I mean, if you're ever near water, that's lovely to look at.
Yes, isn't it? Isn't it? So it's such a shame that
you say it's
I don't know that
brothel now.
It was a brothel. This is what I heard from a lady on the bus, because she said to her mate, "Oh well, I was talking to Clive. He's a taxi driver, and he told me that it's closed now because it was a brothel." And I said, "I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. It was late in the day. I was after work, and I went, well, how does he know, eh?" And she went, "What?" And I was like, I was just trying to be funny, but all right.
From a bottle of Beck's to sex.
But I think it was. I think it probably was a brothel. Yeah. Anyway, so it closed for ages, and now it's reopened as the Cherry, and
because the Cherry has been well and truly popped in there many a time. Yeah.
Also, what's really fucking hacked me off about this lockdown?
Go on.
Our friend Mead and I.
And it all has a connection. We have a friend called Mead. Mead is another word for beer.
Yeah, but it's with
beer you can buy in a pub.
That's true.
So,
she and her husband David recently moved over to the UK, and
of which we're very happy about.
Yes,
unfortunately, we can't fucking see him.
No, I know. Yeah, but I did get to see her for my birthday.
I know you did, but
we spent a long time trying to find a good pub quiz night. Now, you would think that would be really simple, but it's really not. It's hard to find a good one.
No, everyone's jumping on every pub is jumping on the pub quiz bandwagon, and no one can.
Yeah, but some of them are shit.
Yeah, some of them don't know how to do a polished quiz.
No, so we found a good one in Waterloo.
Okay.
And for a few months we were going to that, and it was really great. And the guy was a really great host. And we won once, so that's nice, but we did not win any other time. So it's not like it's so easy and we're so great. It wasn't, it's not from that sort of direction. And then he didn't turn up once, so we were like, maybe he's just like not doing it this week, he's got a thing going on, that's cool. And then he didn't turn up the next week, and then it just was never this guy again. So we decided to find another pub quiz. So it took us a couple of weeks, and we found the perfect pub quiz in Camden. Lovely girl great pub, great vibe, really loved it. She was great. You know, all of the elements came together. It was really easy for me to get home. It was really easy for me to get home. It was really easy for her cousin to get home. And then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that girl. I really liked her. I hope that they survive and we come back and we'll...
Well, not Meads, the quizmaster.
Yeah, the quizmaster. Mead's fine. Mead's
well,
in
hopefully,
London.
I mean, if she's good, she will return.
But it's more about the pub, isn't it? You know, because pubs were already in a bit of a tiz.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my worry.
That a lot of them won't reopen ever again.
Yeah.
And we're going to be left with these chains of fucking Weatherspoons and this twat Philip, whatever his name is.
Tim Martin.
Tim Martin. Is it Tim Martin?
Philip Green's.
Oh, I'm thinking of Philip Green. Oh, no, yeah. Tim Green.
I mean, they're both.
Tim Martin. No.
All of them. Yes. Tim Martin.
Tim Martin. There we go.
Philip Green's BHS. Yeah. Who's also a prick.
Every time I think of him, it's just the hair, isn't it? It's that massive.
That's how I feel about
massive
Trump.
Waves of hair and a twat for a brain.
They all look like, don't they, the villain in a 1990s kids film.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were all competing on wacky races.
But I liked Muttley.
Muttley was cool, but I liked Dick Dastardly, but, you know.
I didn't.
You know.
Even as a kid, I was like, no, Muttley's the best one.
But cheeky chap.
I always, well, I like a cheeky chap.
Don't you love a pub even more when it allows a dog in?
Yes. So here's one of the things that George Orwell wrote an essay about the best pub.
Yeah.
And I think it's called The Half Moon and Stars. I could be wrong. Moon Underwater. Moon Underwater is what it's called. Because
is that the name of a pub?
Well, so here's the thing. George Orwell wrote this essay, and the best pub has a dartboard and it has a dog in the corner and men smoking pipes. This is obviously before the smoking ban. And you read this whole essay, and you must read it. It's really great.
Okay.
And it does conjure up this this perfect pub, certainly in sort of 1930s England, and it sounds fucking amazing. And then the point of it, of course, is that pub doesn't actually exist because there isn't a perfect pub, right?
So he's taking all the elements of a good pub.
Yeah, exactly. But
I wonder if there is a
never
pub
gonna get
out there like it though.
So
imagine if you walked into that pub and you were like, fucking hell, this is everything George Orwell spoke about.
So the Canonbury
is that the closest?
Was one of the pubs that George Orwell frequented and really loved. Yeah. And then there's another pub that I went to last year sometime that's not far from Highbury and Islington Station. And that was also one of the pubs, although I thought it was a really nice pub, that like the people were really great. The clientele were really lovely. The staff were really lovely.
I mean, I guess what you have to remember is that...
You need to mix the two together, though.
Yeah. I mean, what you have to remember, though, is the atmosphere of the pub that probably wasn't the same as what George Orwell knew.
Yes, I know that.
It's going to be a different staff, at least.
I know that.
Goes about, I remember when George Orwell used to drink.
But don't you agree that there's some sort of institutional memory to a place?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, so don't fucking be smart with me.
I'm not. I'm just
Mr. Tent Man with your duvet.
Well, I bet the sound quality is far superior now. Yeah.
This
green wine.
Yeah, this is a bottle and a half in, so now I'm becoming...
Well, I've only done half a bottle because I was trying to save it.
This has been a Head Full of Straw production of Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.